weather, and Heidi Soliday sports. This is TV-8 News, live at 10.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. May 1st is May Day, and around the world the day was celebrated, some places with bitterness, others with joy. Muscovites by the thousands turned out for a 2-hour parade through Red Square. The government programs of openness called Glasnost and reconstruction called Perestroika were praised, while banners called for nuclear disarmament and peace. The May Day celebration was attended by the U.S. ambassador for the first time since 1980, when the U.S. began boycotting the festivities to protest the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Flanked by other Soviet leaders, Mikhail Gorbachev stood atop the Lenin Mausoleum to greet the thousands of Soviet workers who marched past. For the first time in the history of Poland's communist government, there is a big strike in progress on May Day, a holiday which honors workers. Polish leader Wojciech Jaruzelski says his nation is at a turning point in economic reform, despite the 6-day-old walkout by steelworkers in a major plant near Krakow. Jaruzelski vows not to give in to their demands for higher pay. Lots of police are on the streets of major Polish cities to counter any demonstrations by the banned trade union Solidarity.
Well, Mike, violence erupted in May Day demonstrations in El Salvador, Chile, Turkey, and South Korea, and there were tense observances in troubled Central America. Nicaraguan workers demonstrated both for and against the government. Italy and Spain enjoyed a quieter day with festival picnics and peaceful rallies calling for better pay and shorter work weeks. 3 British soldiers died violent deaths in the Netherlands today. Officials say 2 British soldiers were killed and another seriously wounded when their car exploded. Another British soldier was killed in a gun attack on his car. Police say they don't know who shot at the soldiers. However, the IRA says the incidents were staged as a warning to British that its forces could not find what was termed a haven in Ulster. The attacks come exactly 8 weeks after British undercover special forces killed 3 unarmed IRA guerrillas in Gibraltar.
Des Moines police are investigating a stabbing tonight. An unidentified man was discovered walking in the 800 block of University early this evening. Nearby residents noticed the man was bleeding and called police. The man was taken to Mercy Medical Center, where at last word he was undergoing surgery and listed in critical condition. So far, no arrests have been made.
Well, tomorrow night at midnight marks the deadline for filing your Iowa tax returns or for applying for an extension to file an individual or joint income tax return. The deadline falls a couple of days later than normal because April 30th fell on a Saturday this year. The scene at the Des Moines Post Office is nothing like it was 2 weeks ago when federal tax returns were due. However, it was busier than normal. Revenue Department Director Gerald Baer says his department expects somewhere in the neighborhood of 75,000 to 100,000 returns to find their way into his office tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Tomorrow, postal workers will be stationed outside the office to take returns from people driving by. They must be postmarked by midnight, May 2nd. Joining us now is the Director of the Revenue Department, Gerald Baer. Mr. Baer, have the changes on the Iowa tax forms confounded Iowa taxpayers at all?
Well, surprisingly, Ann, we've had about the same number of errors that we've had in prior years, and I think it's basically 2 things. The Iowa taxpayer probably took a little time when he did his return this year, or probably solicited the advice of a tax practitioner. Probably a combination of both.
I understand the returns are averaging about $204. How does that compare with years past?
It's about $10 under prior years, but that's not unexpected, and that refund average will probably rise over the next 30 days.
Recommend any changes for next year based on your experience this year?
Well, hopefully the federal and the state Congress and legislators will leave the taxes alone so that we can at least get 1 or 2 years of some stabilization in the tax return, and that'll not only help us but help the taxpayer of Iowa.
Okay, thanks a lot. Gerald Bell, Director of the Department of Revenue.
And as long as we're talking about revenue, Lotto America officials are expecting another record week of the multi-state lotto ticket sales because no one won last night's big $7.4 million jackpot. Iowa Lotto spokesman Brett Voorhees says they expect to sell more than 1 million tickets this week. He's predicting Saturday night's jackpot for Lotto America to be $8.5 million. That drawing is Saturday night at 9:59 right here on TV-8. And no one won the Iowa Lotto either, bumping that jackpot to $3.6 million for Wednesday's drawing. Problems with rowdiness and littering that have plagued the Saylorville Lake Beach in recent years may be a problem no more. A new beach opened on the lake today, and Saylorville officials have declared it alcohol-free. Chris Lidstad reports the idea has the support of virtually everyone at the beach.
Sun worshippers were scarce on opening day at Sandpiper Beach, but that's partly because many haven't discovered the new sandy stretch or its new rule, no alcohol allowed.
I think it's great. I think it's the best thing that's ever happened around the community out here.
I figure there'd be less bottles and cans out.
Teenagers who now have the option of going someplace where they don't have to deal with people who are drinking alcohol, have the option to come here.
We'll be coming back here